The first betrayal arrived cloaked in the guise of a momentary lapse. Robert Miller's eyes burned crimson as he placed intimate photographs of another woman into my hands, granting me permission to dispose of them as I saw fit, bound by a love I believed unshakable. I absolved what I mistook for a solitary error in judgment. The second transgression unfolded as a spectacle of shame this time. He broadcast private recordings of his dalliance, letting the gaze of the city's elite fall upon our crumbling marriage. Yet, in my devotion, I still recognized the man I had wed. The Robert Miller I thought I knew. I swallowed the humiliation and propped up the illusion of our perfect union. But the third revelation shattered every pretense. There they knelt before me, Robert and Stephanie Adams, each cradling an infant. Their plea was not for forgiveness, but for my compliance. "Amy, I'm sorry," Robert murmured, his voice a hollow echo. "The children need a mother. Stephanie is blameless. Vent your rage on me." Strike, scream. "Do as you will. Only agree to raise these children. Allow Stephanie to remain under our roof, and I will grant you anything," he continued, his words meticulously cruel. "You feared the pain of childbirth. Now you have a son and daughter, ready-made. Do not worry. Stephanie will not usurp your position in the Miller household. You shall always be their mother in name." And so I stood, the architecture of my life dismantled by the man who had vowed to protect it, while another woman held the children I had never borne. Outsiders won't gossip, please. I'm begging you. It felt like a piece of my heart was brutally gouged out. I smiled, tears streaming down my face. "Robert Miller, when did you ever give me a choice?" The Maybach sped away. "I dialed that number. You were right. Cheating is never just. Once I lost. Come pick me up." On the other end of the line, the man chuckled first, then swore under his breath. "Why didn't you say so earlier? You and Robert Miller have been dating for 8 years now. If I step in, what's the difference from being divorced? I don't just take anyone. After all, I'm a scion of a prominent family in the city's elite circles, an eligible bachelor. The college girls chasing me line up from here to France. A divorced woman? Nobody in their right mind would touch it." He didn't finish his sentence before I rolled my eyes. "One question, do you want a divorced woman or not?" he jolted. On the other end, his tone instantly softening. "Yes, nobody else wants her. But I do. A divorced woman is exactly what I want. Next time something this good happens, remember to find me. I'll be always there for you." After hanging up, I sent him the marriage registration. Time, he quickly replied with a cute cat emoji. Looking up, I faced the boundless dark night, the bitterness in my heart spreading endlessly. When it rains, it pours after a clap of thunder. The heavy rain poured down, drenching me completely. I walked 5 kilometers from the suburbs before finally finding a nearby hotel to check in. After simply wiping off the rain, Robert Miller finally called me. His tone was full of apology. "Amy, I left too quickly just now. I was afraid Stephanie would suffer postpartum complications if she got too emotional. Luckily, the doctor said she's fine. Are you still by the roadside? It's raining. Should I send the driver to pick you up? You haven't been well. If you catch a cold before the wedding, I'm afraid you won't be a beautiful bride. You still remember you're getting married?" I cut him off mockingly. Robert Miller's tone instantly turned cold. "What do you mean by that? I told you these 2 children were just an accident. I didn't expect one time being drugged would lead to her getting pregnant. Now the children are born. Am I supposed to shove them back in? You've forgiven me twice before. Why not this time? Looking at how pitiful those 2 children are, can you bear to let them end up on the streets? Forget it. The wedding is in a week. I don't want to argue with you. Just calm down." Looking at the constant stream of messages from David Davis on my screen, I said coldly, "No need. I won't be marrying you, Robert Miller. I told you what I hate most in this life is a cheating man." As I was about to hang up, Robert Miller was instantly enraged and raised his voice. "If you're not marrying me, who else are you going to marry? The wedding isn't a joke. Now the entire Eastwood City knows about the family merger between our 2 families. Where does that leave the Miller family's reputation?" Amelia Smith, I know you're feeling bad, but do you think I'm happy? Do you think I wanted another woman to sleep with him? If I hadn't been set up, how could I possibly suddenly have 2 more children? You know what kind of person I am? I never even go to places with women for business. Entertaining Stephanie's matter really was just an accident. How many more times do I have to explain? I took private photos of her before and I made the video. I've been trying my best to make amends. Do you want my life to prove my love for you? His tone grew increasingly weary as he spoke. I'm already very tired. I don't want my fiancé standing against me too. Don't worry, these 2 children will only be registered under your name. Stephanie will be the nanny, the postpartum nanny in the house from now on. Tears suddenly streamed down my face, and I let out a bitter laugh. So, you mean I should treat your child born out of wedlock as my own? And not only that, but live under the same roof with your mistress every single day? Is that it? Sorry, I'm really not that forgiving. With that, his roar came from the other end. Fine. Remember what you said. Don't regret it if you have the guts. Which man in our circles is faithful outside? I've already handed the children and Stephanie over to you to deal with. I've been more than fair. If you can accept it, we'll get married. If you can't get lost, do whatever you want. The call ended, leaving only the wedding photo on the lock screen. Lit up scenes from the photo shoot kept flashing before my eyes. Back then, he knelt on one knee before me, his eyes filled with love for me, making a promise of eternal love, but his forever turned out to be just one short year. Tears fell onto the screen. I trembled as I called my parents. I'm sorry, I broke up with Robert Miller. My parents sighed, having clearly heard the rumors about Stephanie's pregnancy. Break it off. Then a daughter of the Smith family won't tolerate this kind of humiliation. Even if you never get married your whole life, you'll still be my parents' little princess. With that, I couldn't help but laugh out loud, snot bubbling from my nose. Dad, the wedding doesn't need to be canceled, just the groom has changed. You know him too, David Davis. My mom was instantly surprised, her voice unconsciously rising a few octaves. David Davis, isn't he the Miller family's rival? I heard they almost came to blows fighting over a project and the Miller family lost hundreds of millions. I smiled, wiping away my tears. Yes, he did it for me, so I want to take another chance. Late at night, a friend request popped up on my app. The profile picture was an intimate photo of Stephanie Adams and Robert Miller, remembering how he used to say he didn't like using real photos for his profile picture. I couldn't help but mock myself. It turned out he didn't dislike it, he just didn't like me using it. After accepting the request, Stephanie Adams's message immediately came through. A photo. Robert Miller was asleep on a hospital bed with 2 cribs. In the distance, she sent a playful emoji of a face sticking out its tongue. Sorry, Miss Smith, Mr. Miller insisted on staying with me. The hospital environment isn't good, and I couldn't persuade him. We're family now, so let's add each other on WeChat to stay in touch. You can send me a message directly if you need anything. I didn't reply, my thoughts drifting. 2 years ago, I wasn't well, and my period would be in so much pain, I would faint every time, no matter when. As long as I messaged him, Robert Miller would rush me to the hospital immediately, but he never stayed overnight. He said he couldn't stand the smell of disinfectant in the hospital, feeling like he was a specimen in formaldehyde. I was drenched in cold sweat from the pain, but no matter how I pleaded or acted spoiled, he wouldn't stay. Now Stephanie Adams had become his every exception. Thinking about it, perhaps because my body was too tired, I actually fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was to the sound of Robert Miller's phone call. His tone was volatile, his voice full of angry questions. Amelia Smith, I told you Stephanie wouldn't affect your position, and neither would those 2 children. Why did you send her messages telling her to get lost? Did you even ask for my opinion? You can't even tolerate 2 children. How can I possibly feel safe and trusting them to you in the future? A bitter smile curved my lips. In an instant, I understood the reason, but I no longer wanted to explain. Yes, I did it all. Think whatever you want, I just can't stand her. And I looked down on her. You'd better keep her tied to your side every day, or don't let me find a chance to get back at her. Before he could react, I had already hung up the phone. How ridiculous. 8 years of feelings couldn't even withstand a single accusation from Stephanie Adams. The time on the screen was only 5 in the morning, but I couldn't fall back asleep. He used to know I had sleep problems, so Robert Miller would never message me before 8 o'clock. Now he was making exceptions for Stephanie Adams. Time and time again, was he really just treating Stephanie Adams as a nanny? As he claimed, my emotions were numb. I didn't have the energy to overthink, so I checked out and took a taxi back to the mansion caught in rush hour traffic. For 2 hours, I finally pushed open the mansion door. I was met by the renovation crew Robert Miller had hired. He was still giving instructions. Patiently remember, the materials for the nursery must be the most expensive ones. If the children get hurt, you won't get paid. Throw out all the garbage in that bedroom and repaint it. Use pink and blue. Children like it. Stephanie Adams leaned weakly against him, holding the 2 infants who were giggling. Robert, look, the babies like the colors you chose too. Isn't Daddy smart? He knows what you're thinking, even when you don't talk. The bond of blood is truly. Robert Miller tentatively reached out and rubbed the baby's nose. A snot bubble popped onto his hand and joy erupted in his eyes. Did you see that? He blew on me. The baby recognizes Daddy even at this age. Can you say Daddy for me? This was the first time I had seen Robert Miller look so happy, not even when he successfully proposed to me. His face had only held a faint smile. Then at the time I had frowned and asked him, aren't you happy to marry me? Why aren't you smiling? People cry when their proposal is successful. He had just glanced at me indifferently. Those in positions of power shouldn't show their emotions openly, lest they be exploited by those with ulterior motives. The sound of footsteps attracted their attention. Turning and seeing me appear, Stephanie Adams knelt directly in front of me, holding the 2 children. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Miss Smith, please don't drive me away. I truly cannot leave the 2 children. I didn't mean to come between you and Mr. Miller. I swear I will only take care of the children and will never get in your way. Please don't separate me from the children. Look, they're so adorable and they're smiling at you. Will you hold them? They like you so much. As a mother, before I could speak, she thrust the baby girl into my arms. My limbs instantly stiffened awkwardly at a loss while Robert Miller was looking down at his phone. The infant in my arms suddenly fell to the ground, erupting in piercing cries. Robert Miller rushed forward to pick up the infant quickly. Checking her condition, Stephanie Adams cried and bowed low to me. Miss Smith, whatever you have, take it out on me. Please don't hurt my children, I beg you. I'll bow to you. Turning to face Robert Miller's questioning gaze, she changed her demeanor again. Mr. Miller, please don't blame Miss Smith. She's just not used to holding children. She didn't mean to. Before she finished, Robert Miller's face turned cold. Amelia Smith, I told you Stephanie Adams only did something wrong because she was drugged. You shouldn't blame her. If you have any resentment, take it out on me. What kind of skill is it to target an infant? I can overlook you sending Stephanie Adams threatening messages, and I can forgive you dropping the child, but 3 strikes and you're out today. You must apologize to Stephanie Adams. The baby girl's cries grew more and more mournful, as if she too knew her mother was facing difficulties. Robert Miller quickly helped Stephanie Adams up and handed the child back to her, turning to glare at me. His voice grew colder. Didn't you hear me? I said. Apologize, Amelia Smith. I've truly spoiled you. I looked back at him, my gaze devoid of any emotion. It just felt ridiculous. You want me to apologize to your mistress? Robert Miller, are you insane? Stephanie Adams suddenly rushed forward to shield me, turning to me to plead. Miss Smith, please don't be angry with Mr. Miller. I know you didn't mean to. I don't blame you. Just lower your head. Please don't let me affect your relationship. Before she finished speaking, her foot slipped and she suddenly fell heavily to the ground. The 2 children also rolled out of her embrace. What are you doing, Robe? RT. Miller shoved me hard. My forehead hitting the corner of the table. Blood immediately seeped out. I think you're the one who is insane. You're targeting Stephanie Adams again and again. Is there no end to it? Her children were given to you and she's apologized to you. What more do you want? Apologize or face the consequences? Gritting my teeth, I swallowed the overwhelming sense of injustice and said word by word, apologize to your mistress. Impossible. Robert Miller, you can forget about it. You won't listen to reason. He had the servants take Stephanie Adams and the children away. Robert Miller's eyes turned red with rage. He immediately called 10 bodyguards and had them hold me outside the door. Someone kicked my calf. Sharply, I collapsed to the ground, unable to move with my shoulders held down tightly. Robert Miller watched coldly, leaving only one sentence. Then, you can just kneel here properly. You can get up when you apologize. Watch Miss Smith carefully if she gets up. Even once. None of you will have a job. Then he turned and went into the mansion. The gloomy sky began to rain. Heavily again the rain soaked me. Completely I straightened my back with all my might, refusing to lower my head, but my lower abdomen suddenly began to ache intensely at that moment, realizing what was happening. I grabbed the pant leg of a bodyguard nearby my stomach. Hurts, call Robert Miller over quickly. The bodyguard didn't even spare me a glance, kicking me away in disgust. Shut up, you faking illness won't work. Mr. Miller is busy making formula for the baby boy right now. Blame yourself for provoking the person Mr. Miller cared about most. You deserve it. From inside the mansion, I could faintly hear the children's laughter and Robert Miller telling stories. My consciousness gradually blurred. A warm flow surged. I could no longer bear the severe pain and collapsed onto the ground in a daze. I seemed to see the young man of 18, his eyes red, handing me sanitary products. I didn't know which brand you used, so I bought one of everything. Pick whichever you want. The rain washed away all the memories, leaving only a body that was cold to the bone. I don't know how long passed before I heard familiar footsteps. Robert Miller's voice was cold. Have you put on enough of a show? Get up if you have. Amelia Smith, look at yourself right now. What's the difference between you and a jealous woman? It's time for your temper to be tempered. I'm doing this for your own good. Before leaving, he threw a blanket over me. He hadn't gone far when the bodyguard suddenly exclaimed, Mr. Miller, there's blood on the blanket. His departing footsteps stopped. Robert Miller rushed to my side. He tore off the blanket, his face instantly turning pale. What are you standing there for? Call a doctor. Can't you see Miss Smith isn't feeling well? Are you all dead? His voice gradually faded away, and I completely lost consciousness, unable to distinguish whether my body hurt more or my heart hurt more. Memories of the past flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. Finally, the scene shifted, becoming Stephanie Adams's triumphant smile. Amelia Smith, you lost. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a warm embrace. Robert Miller's large hand massaged my lower abdomen slowly, but his face was cold. Seeing me awake, his brows furrowed tightly. You didn't even know your period came. Why didn't you tell me? If I hadn't found out, were you planning on letting yourself get soaked to death in the rain? Amelia Smith, when are you going to change your temper? I pushed him away forcefully, a cold smile on my face. Does it matter? Before he could reply, crying suddenly came from the nursery. Robert Miller's expression instantly turned. Paw nicked and he got up to leave. I curved my lips and smiled. Robert Miller, your acting is truly poor. It disgusts me. A flicker of hesitation crossed his face, but in the end he left the room. I'll explain after I've soothed the children. I've never changed. You're the one who changed. He was gone for 2 hours and never stepped back into the room. The doctor came to give me medicine and mentioned casually that Robert Miller was busy choosing new formula for the children. He was meticulously comparing different nutritional elements. He said he had never seen Mr. Miller so worried about anyone. I couldn't help but laugh, because it was the first time I had seen it too. Fortunately, Robert Miller wasn't there, so it wouldn't interfere with me packing my luggage. I quickly threw away all the gifts he had given me. All that remained were a few changes of clothes. As I was about to call a taxi to leave, I passed the nursery and, on an impulse, walked in. Perhaps it was because I had fantasized about what my children with Robert Miller might look like. Since I was leaving, I might as well take a look. Leaning over the crib, I couldn't resist poking the baby's cheek. The baby's eyes and eyebrows were identical to Robert Miller's. Tears fell unconsciously. The next second, the baby suddenly cried loudly, blood gushing from their nose. I was about to call for help. The door was kicked open. Robert Miller slapped me across the face, his expression furious and distorted. I thought you knew you were wrong. Those 2 children aren't even a month old. How could you bear to drug their formula? Amelia Smith, when did you become so vicious? I hardly recognize you anymore. Get out. Don't step into the nursery without my permission. From now on. With that, Stephanie Adams rushed in from outside the door, kneeling before me and pleading bitterly. She begged me to spare her children, saying she was willing to die to make amends. Robert Miller's gaze towards me was so unfamiliar, it made my heart tremble. The words of explanation stuck in my throat. The love that once existed vanished into thin air at this moment. Robert Miller. You don't believe me? What reason do you give me to believe? You. Amelia Smith, I'm begging you stop. Tormenting my children they are. Innocent. Closing my eyes in despair, I suddenly laughed, tears also falling. Fine, as you wish. I left with my luggage for 7 whole days. Robert Miller didn't send a single message. However, Stephanie Adams's social media feed was constantly updated. Her location was in Paris one moment, Maldives the next, and then Turkey. He had taken her to all the places we had agreed upon for our honeymoon. On the morning of the wedding, Robert Miller got into the wedding car as usual and headed for the hotel, but he was stopped at the entrance by a security guard. Do you have an invitation? He was instantly stunned. I'm the groom. Why would I need an invitation? The security guard looked at him as if he were an idiot and pointed to the giant wedding photo. Beside him, the groom today is Mr. Davis from Davis Corporation. What does this have to do with you? If you don't have an invitation, get lost. Don't be a nuisance. Seeing the faces in the wedding photo clearly, Robert Miller's face turned instantly pale. In the photo, David Davis and Amelia Smith stood by the sea, embracing tightly. David Davis kissed Amelia Smith's face. His eyes filled with an indescribable obsession and affection. As a man himself, he could naturally see David Davis's feelings for Amelia Smith. They had grown up together, and because of this he always harbored an indescribable hostility towards David Davis. To prove he was stronger than David Davis, he worked desperately to develop his company, but he was always falling behind. He thought he was able to escape the fate of being overshadowed by David Davis until Amelia Smith hugged him and said, no matter what David Davis is like in my heart, you are the best boyfriend I will always love. Only you. At that moment he thought his value was finally. His taut nerves slowly relaxed, but now he had only had a small disagreement with Amelia Smith, and she was going to replace the groom with his rival. His eyes suddenly turned bloodshot, and Robert Miller was so distraught he almost lost his mind. He screamed at the security guard like a madman, I'm the one who booked this hotel today. Open your damn eyes and see clearly. I am the groom at today's wedding. Where's Amy? Where is she? I need to talk to her. The security guard didn't even bother to give him a glance, impatiently picking his ear. Mr. Miller, your booking for the hotel has been refunded. Didn't the money arrive? The whole city knows Miss Smith is marrying Mr. Davis today. Who do you think you are? I've seen plenty of men who've been dumped, but this is the first time I've seen someone as shameless as you. Be smart and leave quickly. Don't make me call the bodyguards to escort you out. Mr. Davis said that if you dare to show up today, you'll walk in on 2 feet and be carried out on a stretcher. Robert Miller trembled with rage, veins bulging on his forehead. Ignoring the security guard's warnings, he charged towards the hotel entrance, but as soon as he stepped onto the stairs, he was kicked down. His body rolled down the steps. Awkwardly, the mocking laughter of the guests reached his ears. Isn't that Mr. Miller came to Miss Smith's wedding banquet today? Didn't get an invitation? Haha, you don't know yet? Mr. Miller was dumped by M. Smith. I heard he had a twin boy and girl outside. What kind of people are the Smiths? How could they possibly tolerate that? He cheated himself and is still pretending to be devoted. That's enough. Everyone here today is a figure of repute. Mr. Miller, you should hurry back and keep your mistress company, lest you anger the Smith and Davis families and find yourself unable to move an inch in the city's elite circles from now on. The humiliating taunts pierced his ears like slaps, striking his face repeatedly. His stubborn pride was almost unbearable. Robert Miller couldn't understand why his and Stephanie Adams's affair had become public knowledge. He had clearly blocked all news after the wedding. The 2 children would have been registered under Amelia Smith's name, but now everything was ruined. His eyes red, he lunged at the group, grabbing the collar of the man in front and demanding angrily, what did you just say? Where did you hear that from? The man rolled his eyes and punched him in the face. Without hesitation, the city's elite circles isn't that big, do you think? What you did was a secret. Everyone knows how many times you slept with that fox, and you're still pretending someone like you even dares to cheat. Look at yourself. What a pathetic excuse for a man. The Smith family is much stronger Then you not to mention their merging. With the Davis family now, from now on, Miss Smith will probably be hard for you to even meet. Honestly, this is the first time I've seen someone abandon their fiancé for a mistress. Can I interview you about your thoughts? Or is that fox's body just so tempting you couldn't resist? Maybe you can bring her out next time and let everyone see the laughter continued to sting his ears. Robert Miller's blood ran cold at that moment. He still wanted to ask unwillingly, but those people didn't give him a chance. They took out their invitations and walked directly into the hotel, and he was stopped outside the door by the security guard again. Only the distant stares of scorn and pointing fingers remained. The heart pain from the wound on his face constantly stimulated his nerves. Robert Miller collapsed to the ground, his body weak. He was unwilling to leave like this. He was even more unwilling to believe that the fiancé he had loved for 8 years would actually choose someone else at the very last moment. He had to see Amelia Smith. He swore he would get an answer from her. Countless guests walked past him. The curses and disdainful glances grew more and more numerous like daggers. They pierced his heart. At this moment, he finally understood how much Amelia Smith had faced 7 days ago. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of apologizing to Amelia Smith, but when the words reached his lips, he was always unable to speak them due to various emotions of pride coupled with Stephanie Adams's persuasion. She said, "Girls always get anxious before marriage. The best way was to let her calm down on her own. As long as she thought things through, all problems would be resolved." He believed Stephanie Adams. He chose the silent treatment. During their first major argument, he never expected it to escalate to this point. His thoughts were chaotic, past memories flashing before his eyes one after another. Just then, Stephanie Adams even sent him a message. "How's the wedding going? Is it about to start? I was right, wasn't I? Miss Smith loves you so much she wouldn't really be angry with you." He wished he could tear Stephanie Adams's face off through the screen, tell her that everything was different from what she thought. But the next second, a wedding car stopped in front of him, revealing a face he had been longing for. "When I got out of the wedding car in my wedding dress, David Davis personally ran over to greet me." Turning to meet Robert Miller's expectant, pleading gaze, I frowned slightly. "On the way here, the security guard had already messaged me in advance, saying that Robert M. Miller refused to listen to reason and insisted on waiting for me at the hotel entrance." Mr. Miller's arrogance and unruly nature were well known among the city's elite circles, but the security guard said that Robert Miller today was different from usual, looking as if he were one step away from the abyss of collapse. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, I was still startled by his dejected expression. His eyes were bloodshot with fatigue, his face was pale, and there was still dried blood on the corner of his mouth. I didn't want to pay attention to him. I turned and linked arms with David Davis, intending to enter the hotel. But as I stepped onto the stairs, he tightly grabbed my wrist. His voice, full of utter pleading, sounded in my ear. "Amy, don't be like this. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Please don't punish me this way. I beg you. I really can't lose you." I glanced at him coldly and forcefully shook off his hand. "Robert Miller, I gave you a chance. You're the one who didn't cherish it. Now this is happening, and you have no one but yourself to blame. If you're here to attend the wedding, you're very welcome, but if you're here to cause trouble, I must ask you to leave." With that, I turned to walk away, but Robert Miller rushed forward again, blocking my path. His eyes held boundless stubbornness and madness. "You can't marry him. I won't allow it." This time, before I could speak, David Davis scoffed. "Mr. Miller, today is Amelia Smith and my wedding banquet. Is it appropriate for you to say that? You don't still think Amelia Smith is your fiancée, do you? Do I need to remind you? You already have Stephanie Adams and 2 children." Robert Miller's face instantly turned cold and he glared at him. "Shut up. You have no place to speak here. Even if Amelia Smith and I are arguing, do you think you've won? You're just a tool Amelia Smith is using to make me angry. Do you really think Amelia Smith likes you and is marrying you because of that? With just a word from me, Amelia Smith and I can reconcile. We can go back to how we were before, and you from beginning to end are the clown you were before, and you will be again." Before he finished, I slapped him across the face. I wiped my Hand in disgust. Robert Miller, I'm telling you this one last time we are over today. My groom is David Davis, and you are the one who is redundant either. You leave on your own, or I'll have the bodyguards escort you out as a CEO of a listed company. You probably don't want to make too much of a scene, do you? Robert Miller froze in place, as if he hadn't expected me to hit him publicly. For David Davis, his once handsome face now only held dejection, but this time he didn't speak again, just watched as David Davis and I walked into the hotel lobby. Why didn't you let me finish just now? Amy, do you still have feelings for him? Sensing the sadness in David Davis's voice, I smiled lightly and linked my arm through his. Wanting to talk means I haven't let go of him, yet true letting go is always about ignoring. Today is our wedding. Do you want me to go out and talk to him in front of everyone? David Davis's ears turned red and he shook his head stiffly. The wedding is starting soon. You go rest first. I'll come find you right away. As the elevator doors slowly closed, my thoughts couldn't help but drift. 8 years of feelings. It was false to say I didn't care at all, but seeing him so dejected this time, I no longer felt the pity I used to. Forgetting takes time, but I believe I can do it. A person like Robert Miller is not worth remembering. I had deleted all his contact information for 7 whole days. He hadn't even realized it until now. This kind of person was still hoping I would come back, even saying we could reconcile with just a word from him. What did he take me for? While resting in the suite, the doorbell rang. I thought it was David Davis and went to open the door excitedly, but the next second, my mouth and nose were covered. I was dragged into the stairwell, which had no surveillance cameras. The medicated cloth made me weak all over, and I could only be dragged down floor after floor by that person. 5 minutes passed, and my consciousness blurred. When I opened my eyes again, I was already in the wedding car. The person in the driver's seat was none other than Robert Miller. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Robert Miller. Kidnapping is illegal. My hands were tied tightly with his suit jacket, and I could only struggle desperately in the seat, but the more I twisted my body, the tighter the grip on my wrists became. Robert Miller's eyes were red, and he seemed to have lost his mind. I know you're being forced to marry into the Davis family. Amy, I've saved you. Come with me. Our wedding is still waiting for you. The bride, I know you have your reasons, but I'll handle the Davis family as long as you say you're willing. I can give up my life for you. Listening to his stubborn words, I actually laughed out loud. Tears also fell unconsciously. Robert Miller, what kind of person do you take me for? You think I'm being forced to marry someone else? How can you possibly think that? Just because you sleeping with Stephanie Adams was a setup, you think the same applies to me? I'm telling you, marrying David Davis was my choice. Let me out of the car now, or when David calls the police, you'll be finished. As soon as my voice fell, Robert Miller suddenly turned his head to look at me and roared uncontrollably. Enough, shut up. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you say these things. I love you. I truly love you. Please give me one last chance. You can only marry me. I won't watch you marry someone else, especially David Davis. What's so great about him? You said he could never compare to me your whole life. Have you forgotten the things you said before? He was angry, but I was even angrier, and my voice also rose a few octaves unconsciously. Yes, I used to say David Davis was inferior to you, but that was before. From the moment you got into bed with Stephanie Adams, from the moment you got her pregnant, Robert Miller, being with you now just makes me sick. When I loved you, you treated me like dirt, and now that I don't love you anymore, why are you acting crazy? Your children with Stephanie Adams are very cute, and you two are well matched. Let me go. There's no longer any possibility for us. My voice gradually grew weak. Robert Miller, however, stubbornly refused to believe it. You say you don't love me, so why do you make things difficult for Stephanie Adams time and time again? Isn't it because you're jealous? Amy, I understand you. You're not someone who changes their heart easily. I know you drugged the children and pushed Stephanie Adams because you loved me. I don't blame you. Now, please, can you give me one more chance? I promise this is the last time. If you don't want Stephanie Adams's children, I can send them abroad, and they'll never come back their whole lives. As long as you agree to marry me, I'll do anything. Seeing how self-righteous he was, I Laughed more and more hysterically Robert Miller. You still think I did those things? You know best what kind of person I am with that, Robert Miller's. Back stiffened abruptly he suddenly slammed on the brakes my entire body. Lurched forward into the seat in front of me. My body suffered a violent impact. And my forehead throbbed. Robert Miller. You're always so self-righteous. You were before and you are now. What I said about not marrying you is true from the moment you brought the children back. There was no longer any possibility for us. I won't hurt the children because they are innocent, and I won't hurt Stephanie Adams because you are the culprit. I don't care what you think, even if Stephanie Adams puts all the blame on me. I'm too lazy to explain. Because I don't love you anymore. The car stopped by the side of the road. Robert Miller's chest heaved with rage. He was about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. After he answered, Stephanie Adams's anxious voice came through. Robert, what did you do? Why is the Davis family looking for you everywhere? Just now a group of bodyguards rushed into the mansion, saying they wanted your life. Don't do something foolish. I've heard about Miss Smith's matter. I don't blame her for what happened before, but we can't afford to offend the Davis family. Robert, please come back, okay? Don't go through with the wedding. The children miss you too. Shut up before Stephanie Adams finished speaking. Robert Miller had already interrupted her furiously. It's not up to you to tell me what to do, Stephanie Adams. I'm asking you one last time. You were pushed and injured. The children were drugged and vomited blood. Who did it? Stephanie Adams paused for a moment, her voice flustered. It was Ms. Smith. Why are you suddenly asking this? Robert, did Miss Smith say something? Don't argue with her for my sake. I don't blame her, really. I understand M. Smith. If my fiancé suddenly brought back two children, I would be angry too, and I would make the same choices as her. Before Stephanie Adams could finish, Robert Miller had already hung up the phone. Countless news articles popped up on the screen. Davis family wedding. Bride kidnapped and missing. David Davis offered a heavy reward of tens of millions for finding the person. David Davis declared that when the kidnapper was found, he would rot in jail. Comments scrolled by one after another filled with curses. Robert Miller clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. He didn't understand. We were the ones who were supposed to get married. All he did was take his bride away. How did he suddenly become the target of public criticism? Nobody gave him an answer. Unconsciously, the car had driven onto the campus. It was here that Robert Miller and I began our 8-year relationship. He gazed obsessively at every plant and tree on campus. Every single thing held our memories, seizing the opportunity while he wasn't paying attention. I used the diamond on the ring to cut through the suit jacket, binding my wrists. Amy, do you remember? It was right here that you accepted the flowers I gave you. Things were so good back then. If time could go back, would you still be with me? The sound of a door slamming shut interrupted his memories. Turning to look, the back car door was already open. Only the bloodstained suit jacket remained. He laughed self-deprecatingly, tears filling his eyes. To be with him, you're even willing to hurt yourself? In an instant, all the strength drained from his body. He slumped powerlessly into the seat. He didn't want to chase anymore. He knew that even if he got Amelia Smith's person, her heart would never come back. He finally knew what he had done wrong, but it was all too late. Much too late. He took out his phone and sent a message to his assistant. Send those two children back to the Miller family. Send Stephanie Adams abroad. Never let her come back. David Davis's car to pick me up was parked by the side of the road. I ran quickly towards him and threw myself into his arms. I'm okay, sorry I made you worry. David Davis tried to act tough, turning his head away from me, but the trembling of his hands betrayed his fear. The wedding car slowly drove towards the hotel. In the rearview mirror, several police cars stopped next to Robert Miller. Our paths converged at that moment, and from then on we would gradually diverge in opposite directions. Goodbye, Robert Miller. Goodbye.